Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the El Toro's podcast, exclusively now on Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here, let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on things like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast, which is always a plus, with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast right at your fingertips and in one place. I can't believe it took me this long to switch over to Anchor.fm, but I couldn't be happier now. So, get yourself started and download the free Anchor app now, or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome everyone to episode 32 of the Capital Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. You can catch us here every Wednesday at 12 o'clock via irwnetwork.com and soundcloud.com/LTorsPodcast. You can catch us on iTunes, just search Capital Wrestling. Every Monday night, live at 6:05, go to gfqlive.tv. Catch all the new episodes there. Replays are on IRW, Pivot Share, and Twitch. Follow us on Twitter at Capital Wrestling without the G. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Neutron. Shout out to some of our sponsors and podcasts: General Admission Wrestling Podcast, A Shot of Wrestling, the Spotlight Series, and Squared Circle Sound Off. Now, if you go to tinyurl.com/capital4, that's the Roman numeral 4, or capitalwrestling.com, you can purchase tickets for Saturday's show ahead of time, so go check those out. Plenty of great packages. Go to Groupon, you can do a 2 for $20 deal right now. And also, if you email capitalwrestling@gmail.com, you can check out a deal where you get the beanie and a ticket for $35. So go check that out. If you want some other merchandise to support Capital, go to whatamaneuver.net and prowrestlingtees.com. I want to thank everyone for listening today. Episode 32, it's going to be really fun. A little bit later on, we're going to talk to the shooter, Killian McMurphy. But before that, we're going to talk to his opponent for Saturday's upcoming October 14th show. And he's none other than SwipeRight Joe Keys. What's up, Joe?
Thank you for having me, Sean. It's another great evening to be on this fantastic podcast of yours.
It's only made better by your presence.
I know.
A very busy guy with MCW, PCW, AML, so just to be able to stop by here, that's awesome.
Yeah, the list doesn't stop at those three companies. I'm well-renowned in Chikara. As of lately, I've been doing a ton of international travel. Just got my first tour in the UK done a month ago. I just got back from Canada twice within a month time frame. Everybody wants SwipeRight Joe Keys on their freaking roster nowadays, but Capital has been lucky enough and smart enough to invest in me before I blow up.
I mean, I've definitely seen your progression, and you're one of the fastest rising stars out there, man.
Absolutely, and I'm getting the recognition I deserve, and I love how the people, my guys who run Capital, are finally getting their heads on straight and recognizing it well. I am not getting put in any dumpy little tag matches anymore. Last time I was there, I got thrown with Ryan freaking Zane. Do you believe that?
Yeah, that was an interesting pairing, to say the least.
No, it's insulting, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
You look at me. I'm not a blue chip prospect as I'm being billed. I'm established. Where I go, everyone knows my name. I'm trained by the best. I carry myself like the best. I'm not blue chip. I am it.
Mm-hmm.
I show up. I make my presence known. I dominate, and I leave. And people remember me. They don't remember Ryan Zane. They don't remember the other people in the match. They don't remember Ronnie Burton. Hell, I hardly remember who they were. But they remember me.
I remember that match. You won with your finisher off. I think, what do you call that finisher again?
It's called the Keys to Success.
The Keys to Success. It's a very devastating finisher where you kind of hang them off the top rope and do that like a neck breaker kind of, right?
Drop them on their dumpy little necks.
Yeah, that's definitely going to get you some wins and some attention. You mentioned tagging with Ryan Zane. Do you believe it was all you carrying that team?
Absolutely. I didn't get touched once in that match, but every time Ryan was in there, it was a slugfest. Not for our benefit, though. It was borderline embarrassing to be a part of. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not in the business of lying to people.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for Ryan, I'm a tag team expert, not just at MCW, but at AML, at Shikara, anywhere where I've been paired with Ken Dixon or my partner Robert Locke. We've had success, and I can carry that talent, I can carry that experience around with anyone. Even Ryan Zane, as pathetic as he is, we were able to walk out of that show with a victory.
Now, is that one of those things that were after the match? I mean, he's all happy that you guys won. What were you feeling after that match?
I was hunting down the guys who booked that match and demanded to never be put in a dumpy tag match ever again. And my wishes came true.
And we'll get to that match you're going to have with Killian McMurphy in just a little bit. But you also mentioned, going to Canada and England. Tell us about the promotions there and just your experiences there.
Canada was a handful of small promotions. Pro Wrestling Eclipse, Magnificent Championship Wrestling, Hogtown Championship Wrestling. They had heard of me. They've seen me. They've witnessed what I can provide, what I can offer. And they just reached out and said, we need to have you on our show ASAP. We have nothing like you. We have nobody that looks like you, nobody that carries themselves like you. And we want you to be a part of our locker room. We want you to be an asset to our promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So I went up, did what I do best, made a name of myself, and they're begging to have me back.
And what part of England was that in as well when you went over there?
England was the 1st of September. That was in Wolverhampton, part of Chikara's King of Trios event.
Mm-hmm.
Now over there, British wrestling is exploding at the moment, and I was lucky enough to be part of the show that had all of the best talents that country has to provide. Luckily for me, I got to find myself in the ring with some of those talents.
So who are some of those guys you went up against?
I went up against a gentleman known as CCK, Kid Lycos, and Chris Brooks. Learned a lot from them, and it kind of was an eye-opener what I have to bring to the table to stand out a little more. I also got to watch British Strong Style, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven. And again, talking about eye-openers, those guys are on a level beyond anything you'll see at some regular indie show anywhere.
Mm-hmm. What is it about them that impressed you?
Their presence, how they work, how they carry themselves, how they demand attention, everything, their aura. They step into a room. People talk about this it factor. They step into a room and people just look over their shoulder. Everyone knows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows who they are. It's kind of like me walking in the Capitol. Everyone stops to stare like, oh, that's Joe Keys. I'm going to hang around him tonight, see what kind of knowledge he can drop from me. It's a big parallel.
Now, is that something, too, where not only knowledge that you can drop on people, but also just the effect of being next to Joe Keys, I mean, in terms of the after party after the show?
Half the people there I'd never want to see after the show anyway. But I'm blessed to have been trained and currently being trained by the smartest minds professional wrestling has ever seen. I'm talking about Mike Quackenbush at Chikara. Has a ton of information to share, and at MCW we have the Bruiser, RJ Meyer, and as of late we have Joey Mercury. Joey Mercury, without a doubt, is the most intelligent person when it comes to professional wrestling I have ever been around.
Mm-hmm. It's
just the way information flows through him, the way he can teach somebody, the way you just remember what he says. There's no one like him, and the people that are at the top right now making millions and millions of dollars, he's trained them all. And without a doubt, the guys down at MCW are on a similar path to that fortune, as seen by NXT the other night.
And you allude to NXT the other night, and you mention like Leo Rush was supposed to make his debut versus Aleister Black. But the Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, had other ideas and interrupted it. What does it mean to see those two guys not even in a match, just on the main stage right then and there?
pause the screen for a moment when both of them are on there. It's heartwarming. I almost cracked a tear seeing Leo come out because I've spent so much time with Leo, knowing his drive, what he's risking, his family he's risking, his son he's risking, all for this dream, and he finally made it. He's there. And even with Patrick, like, ruining that, so to say, because everyone likes to see Leo Rush wrestle.
Yeah.
Freaking beast specimen. There's no one else like him. But you freeze-frame that, you got Leo and Patrick in a WWE ring at the same time. It's awe-inspiring. It's way inspiring for all the guys down at MCW, because we knew for those two, it was just a matter of when. And it came so quickly for the two of them. And they're not the only two MCW representatives down there at the Performance Center now. Referee Jessica Carr, the first lady ref, also repping MCW in her tenure down there as well.
I remember Patrick Clark back when he was on Tough Enough back in 2011. He didn't really have much of a presence about him, but we've really seen an evolution with him recently, and I mean, he just really looks comfortable with that character.
There's not much of a distinction between Patrick Clark as a human being and Velveteen Dream as the character. So something like that just flows. It's easy for him to portray.
Yeah, and they say that, you just take it, turn it up a notch, and you're good to go. And I mean, that's at least the best characters come from that. And it's really fun to see him growing and as a performer.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people, a lot of younger guys stepping into business nowadays. I throw that word around younger. I haven't been in here too long, but I feel there's a lot one could learn from watching someone like Velveteen Dream. There is a lot of people want to see how many flips they can do, how many dives they can do, all that garbage and whatnot, and it doesn't make them stand out. You want someone like Velveteen and his presence and his aura, and the way he carries himself and the stuff he does. You don't forget when he's on film, when he's on camera. You remember everything he does. Exactly,
and then once he gets in the ring, you remember that as well.
And he's a monster. You see what shape he's in? He's gigantic. You stand next to the guy, you're immediately dwarfed. You're immediately intimidated.
What kind of match do you think from seeing them both together, what kind of match do you think fans could expect if those two faced off?
I don't know. I honestly can't give an honest opinion. I've seen what type of match they've had 2 years ago. But with that comes 2 years in ring experience for Leo and 2 years in ring experience for Velveteen. And I honestly can't paint a picture of what that would look like.
And honestly, I'm just really glad to see that Leo Rush, they didn't change his name at all. They didn't give him some crazy name. He just got to stick with that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that phases.
I believe at Leo's last show, you were fighting Brandon Scott, and you picked up a singles victory there.
Yeah, that's not going to brag too much about it. It's Brandon Scott. He's notorious around here and there, but look at the kid. He's an overweight toddler body. It'd be embarrassing to lose to him. Look at me. Look at the shape I'm in. Look at him. There was no freaking way he stood a chance. Not one. But it's not just Brandon. I had better competition, thank God. People at MCW realized what a talent they had with me. They fed me Anthony Henry about a week ago, and Anthony was beating my ass. He almost slipped one over on me, but I had my new crew with me, the Cartel, Dante Caballero. He was out there, watched my back. Anthony got a little distracted, a little caught up with the crowd, a little caught up with the atmosphere around him, and he got drumped. He got dumped on his freaking neck, just like Fat Body Brandon Scott did. And it's mind-boggling to me how the people, they get caught up in these guys. They get caught up with the reputation they build for them, and they just blindly follow them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I've heard of Anthony Henry. I like him. I've heard of Brandon Scott. I like him. And they come out, And they have these factual backed up. I can't even think right now. It's so high. It's like there's no evidence of why they're so good. And the first time they've seen them, and then I dump them on their neck, and they beat them, and they act all shocked. They're blown away. Like, oh, well, I didn't see that happening. I don't get why.
So what you're saying is you don't see a difference between the level of competition with Brandon Scott and Anthony Henry. They're the same to you?
No, I'm not saying that at all. Anthony Henry is a fantastic competitor.
Mm-hmm.
He's everywhere where he needs to be. He's in Evolve. He's at PWX. He's everywhere he needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Scott, and people have this blind love for him. Like I said, he's a fat body toddler. I guess he's very relatable to the crowd.
That's definitely going to be my quote from this week's episode.
No, go ahead.
But I'm sitting here trying to laugh my ass off and ruin the entire episode.
If you don't believe me, ask Ken Dixon his opinion.
I will have to ask Ken that next time I see him. You go from being Joe Keys, the fresh-faced Joe Keys, and now you got a mustache, and it's SwipeRight Joe Keys. Talk about that character evolution for you, and how exactly what that means to you.
I brought it up with Patrick and Velveteen. You find something about you, and you turn it up. You do what feels natural.
Yeah.
That's what feels natural to me. I feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Down the street knowing that people are side-eyeing me. I feel comfortable walking into a room and I look around and I see practically clones of one another. Especially like I go to a bar scene. This is my favorite example to use. I go to a bar scene and guys my age, they're all similar. They wear the same thing. They look the same way. They're interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
They're not memorable. You see Joe Keys walk into that setting, heads turn. Heads turn. You can see the lust in these women's eyes. You could just smell the envy on these guys. And some of them have the testicular audacity to walk up to me and be like, bro, I love the stash. I love the hair. I'm not into guys, but if I were, you'd be all over. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing that they've never thought for a second that standing out would get them attention. That standing out would make them more desirable.
Well, my first question is, when Joe Keys goes somewhere to have a drink, what is he drinking?
Strawberry daiquiri, extra virgin. Extra virgin. Alcohol is the devil's poison. It's not needed at all.
So that's how you stay in that phenomenal condition.
Hell yeah! You don't do it with light beers. You don't do it with Yingling lagers. No. It's dedication, a good diet. Hear that, Brandon Scott? A good diet, not pizza, and a gym routine and self-respect. That's how you stay in this phenomenal shape.
And that gym routine, what's that look like for you every day?
Every day, it's practically work at this point. I made a note of this before. A lot of people, when they go to the gym, they have to take their pictures. They have to log in on Facebook. Let everybody know that they're at the gym. Get that like. You know what I mean? Get that Facebook like. Get that little heart on Instagram. Good for you. You did your little bench press and your squats. When I take my shirt off, that's how you know I went to the gym. I don't need to tell people. Pop the chest once, heart rates are skyrocketing. That's how they know I went to the gym.
You can literally hear the lust in the crowd when the women see Joe Keys.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. All five of them. It's a wrestling crowd. You got to remember that.
If there were any more, you might have to wear earmuffs. So, because it would be too deafening.
Oh, no. They're lost for words. But I'll find them and give them that wink and a little shuffle. See the smile pop on their face? Sell them a t-shirt.
Now, how much of an inspiration is... I mean, definitely when I look at you, I see that kind of like that Miami Vice kind of feel. How much of an inspiration is that for you?
The best era, generation, whatever you want to call it in American history, is without a doubt the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know who I pissed off behind the pearly gates to be born in 93, but I missed the greatest time frame ever And it's really, what's the word I'm looking for? There's just like the fashion sense. It's beautiful. It's such a missed art.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to the basic guys at the bar wearing plaid shirts, button-ups, jeans, and whatever tennis shoes, screw that. Pastel shirts, cotton linen pants, and a cotton blazer. Ooh. Walk in, snap it over your shoulder, and look at anyone who has the balls to look you in the eye. And they'll look away 5 seconds later.
Because, yeah, when I look at you, I see a dash of Don Johnson.
Oh, everyone sees that.
I mean, it's an easy comparison, but at the same time, it's also a great one.
Yeah, I've never watched Miami Vice, though.
I see that all the time, so it's a great show, man. You're missing out. You got to catch up on that.
No, I'll buy the DVDs one day. Someone can buy them for me. We'll watch it together.
There's a gift idea for all the ladies out there looking to get with Joe Keys.
Ladies, men who want a handshake, anything. You want my attention? Miami Vice season 1 through
whatever it is.
No idea.
1 through 25, I don't know. But you talk about T-shirts as well. Is there any new SwipeRight Joe Keys merchandise?
Oh, absolutely. We got these beautiful new T-shirts hot off the press. If you have a hots for pastel pink or pastel blue, you got a shirt size.
Mm-hmm.
You got a new wardrobe.
So you'll be having those this Saturday in Hoboken?
Oh, they'll be there at Capitol this weekend, I promise that.
You definitely want to have to grab one of those people. But speaking of Hoboken, that's a new audience you were exposed to at the last show. What are your thoughts on the audience, the atmosphere, just the city?
The city's a dump. New York City is a dump. No matter where you look at it, no matter what angle you come from. Like I come from Largo, Florida. Mm-hmm. It's paradise. It's beautiful. It's everything you believe it is. Palm trees, beaches, beautiful women, and then you go to Hoboken, and it's street filled with garbage, oil stains, like urban decay. Every block you go. And the people are a perfect reflection of that as well. I walk out, and I'm in a decent mood. It's wrestling. Everyone loves wrestling. And they're just verbally abusing me.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling me I dress like garbage. That's a lie. That's a lie. Just because I'm not wearing a Bullet Club shirt doesn't mean I'm dressed like garbage. Tell me to put my clothes back on. Then told me to take it off, and I take my shirt off, and they're like, "No, put it back on." You're intimidated. They can't make up their mind, but they're New Yorkers. They're like that. You get that.
Well, I think humans are naturally threatened by something that's different.
It's New Yorkers.
So that they're even more threatened than somebody from a different state.
Yeah, they don't know how to comprehend their emotions. They don't know how to step back and think for a second. How am I going to handle this? Keep my mouth shut, okay? They're very primitive when it comes to the human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really have a thought process. They think of something, they blurt it out. Like, hey, where are you going? Like, just give them 5 seconds, you'll watch where they're going.
With this whole new progression, I mean, obviously we've seen your finisher, the keys to success. Is there any other changes to your moveset that you've evolved?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a handful of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to give it away.
Well, no, of course not.
It's not any fun. People be anticipating that. Just sit back and watch. You'll see stuff in every one of my matches that you will not see in anybody else's matches. I strive to be different. I will never be another match on the card, no matter who I'm in there with, even if it is Ryan Zane or Killian this weekend. Killian is going to be blown away by what he sees that I bring to the ring. I promise you that, Killian. I promise you, you will be blown away by everything I throw at you. I don't care. Let's get to where we need to go real quick, Sean. Let's talk about Killian. Let's talk about this weekend.
Go for it.
The kid's new to the game. I'm new to the game. People talk, like, how many years you've been in the business? I've been in the business 3 years. But it's quality years, not quantity of years. My 3 quality years is better than majority of any locker room I will be a part of. Guys are in there 9, 10 years, but 1.5 year vet Joe Keys better than them. Killian, I can't say how long he's been in the game. I can't. But he brings a background with him. He brings that shooter background. And he brags about it. He boasts about it. I'm a shooter. I'm going to get him. Everybody is a shooter until they get slapped in the frickin' mouth.
Mm-hmm.
realize that stepping in the ring with Joe Keys isn't the same slap and tickle wrestling game that he plays with the JV children back at whatever high school he graduated at.
So you're saying his offense might be pretty predictable?
It's essentially predictable.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna everything that's worked for him in high school, everything that made him JV player of the year or whatever he did. I've seen it before. I trained with Leo Rush. Leo Rush is all-American, 2-time All-American. I'm smartened up to it. I know his first instinct. And like I said, everyone's a shooter until they get slapped in the mouth, and then they got to rework that game plan.
I mean, he looks to take people. He calls it the arm bar and grill.
He can call it whatever he wants. Call it whatever he wants. Just keep the arm away from him. Keep him on the ground. Keep away from him. Then he gets dropped on his neck. It's that easy. It's not rocket science. People try and match him on his level. I'll give him that. He is a better mat wrestler than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna go to his game. I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna try and match him at that. Once outside the jaw.
Mm-hmm.
Watch him squirm around. When he finds himself, he'll be on his neck.
He'll not see it coming, and it'll happen faster than he thinks it will.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned the progression from going from tag, and now you're really happy you got a singles match to showcase your abilities even more. If you beat Killian McMurphy, where does that put you?
That puts me. I've said walking in here. I know I'm already at the top of this roster. I am one of the top talents, and I'm kind of butthurt. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of butthurt that our matches have been listed as one of the main events.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But after I smacked the crap out of this kid this weekend, it's without a doubt going to put me at the main event spot of every show here on out.
And you talk about main event spots, you talk about that level of talent and capital, and yourself, obviously. You're going to be crowning the first ever Capital Wrestling champion. Now, it's very vague. We don't know exactly how it's going to go down. What are your thoughts on that?
Ken Dixon. That's just the end of conversation. Ken Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else you need to say. You say Ken Dixon's name, and people are like, oh, yeah, badass champ. Ken's already a 2-time champ.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a Capital, but he's currently a 2-time champ at PCW in West Virginia and Wildcat down in New Orleans. He's well-ranged. He can beat up anybody, and he doesn't take crap from anybody. He walks up, hits you in the face, kicks your ass, stands over top of you, and this weekend he's going to be leaving with some gold.
And also, I mean, you mentioned Ken Dixon, and his match will be with Paul Jourdain versus the team of Sex Crazed. What are your thoughts on that tag team match?
I'm not a fan of public executions, but that's essentially a public execution. Paul Jourdain, look at him, 6'8", 200, 62 pounds. He's a monster. Ken Dixon is a psychopath. That tag team, I can't even put words behind it. Borderline lethal is what I'm going for.
Borderline lethal?
Yeah.
I mean, they say Paul Jourdain's almost as tall as Mike Law.
Yeah, Mike Law's huge. Gigantic. I don't know. You ever seen him prance around the locker room? It's like you got a little neck pain looking up at him,
Yeah, and he says he has to get extra big cars when he travels because he can't fit in those little tiny smart cars.
SUV all the way. Hummers if they still gave them.
Before we get out of here, anything you'd like to plug in terms of social media, upcoming shows? We mentioned the new T-shirts earlier.
Absolutely. The merch is flowing. You can find me on Twitter at CupOfJoe21. You can find me on Instagram at Joe_Keys. Upcoming shows, we got MCW on the 21st. I'm actually running a double shot Saturday before Capital. I'll be at WrestlePro across town in Brooklyn. But the show to be at this Saturday is, without a doubt, Capital Wrestling in Hoboken, New Jersey.
And what does it mean to you to be doing 2 shows in one day? I mean, that's a lot for any normal person. But I mean, then again, you're not normal, right?
No, it's not the first time I've done 2 shows in one day. It's essentially routine as of late.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of wrestlers I know that panic before their show. They get up in their own head. They don't study up on their opponent. I can promise you, I've been studying Killian for weeks getting into this, and they get frustrated. They get lost, and that's how A lot of them end up losing their freaking match because they don't know how to handle the situation ahead of them. They're too worried about, I hope I can get my dive in, or I hope I can get my super kick in. But if the guy knows it's coming, you're already given a heightened pre-prediction of what you have to offer. So with me, I got 2 shows this Saturday. None of my stuff stinks.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to do to beat up whoever the hell I'm facing at WrestlePro this Saturday, they haven't told me. I can promise that same beatdown is going to be dropped on Killian's frickin' neck.
Well, Joe Keys is looking to line up 2 victims this Saturday, and with Killian McMurphy and Capital Wrestling, October 14th, live from Hope's Community Center. Joe, we want to thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure for you stopping by.
Of course. You need listeners.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you've definitely... I think Eric Bischoff's going to hear this and just love you.
Fantastic.
So once again, Joe, I want to thank you for coming by, and we're going to take a quick break before we talk to the shooter, Killian McMurphy, and also you can get my thoughts on some of the things I find interesting on Capital Wrestling social media. So you're not going to miss that. Come on back and continue to listen for episode 32 of Capital Wrestling, the Capital Wrestling Podcast. Back to episode 32 of the Capital Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. I want to thank SwipeRight, Joe Keys, for stopping by the Capital Wrestling Podcast and talking about his career, the progression, the direction it's going in. And as you can see, from the last time he was on here to this time, lots of change, lots of progression. Good to see he's headed in the right direction. He's got the stash, he's got the new look, he's got the attitude, the swagger, looking sharp in the ring. And he's going to need all that this Saturday night when he takes on his opponent, the shooter, Killian McMurphy. Now, Killian's going to be on here in just a few minutes, but before we get to Killian, adding a new segment this week. 32 episodes in, changing it up a little bit. Why not? I see plenty of great stuff on social media every week from Capital Wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, talent, management, backstage, whatever it is. You see it on Facebook, you see it on Instagram, Snapchat, see it on Twitter, YouTube. There's plenty of great content out there from Capital Wrestling in just various formats, and I'd like to make put a spotlight on some of it. So it's a new segment I like to call What's Up, Cap? And we're going to take a look at some of the stuff that's been going on. This past weekend in New York, there was the New York Comic Con, and we got to see Capital Wrestling have some representation there. We also saw Headlock Comics there with Lita, DDP. I believe Tommy Dreamer was there somewhere. Michael Kingston's there doing a great job as always. He's had a really, really cool evolution of his business since back in the day. I think it was like 10 years ago or something, or even as little as 5 years ago. He's making a lot of headway. So it's really cool to see Headlocked and all the progress they've made. But Lita stopped by. She was actually holding the flyer for Capital Wrestling's card on Saturday, and it's just really neat to see somebody from the tail end of the Attitude Era and just all of the things that she's accomplished holding a Capital Wrestling flyer, because there's a lot of hard work put into that. So something very simple, but a big deal to everyone here at Capital Wrestling. Now, if she approves of it, and if Eric Bischoff approves of it, you might want to get your ass down there to the Hope's Community Center in Hoboken, New Jersey this Saturday. Doors open at 7, bell time's at 8. Go check it out. There's a lot of, and even DDP approves of it as well, with his newest association and a deal on Groupon right now. You get a free month of DDP Yoga. Just go check it out. Lots of great deals on there. Also, I mentioned earlier the deal we have on Groupon right now, 2 for $20. Get 2 tickets for $20. You can also get a beanie and a ticket for $35. Email capitalwrestling@gmail.com for more about that. So lots of great things going on with Capital Wrestling, always. So elsewhere on social media, we also got to see a few weeks ago, Mike Law and Bo Crockett got into it. Mark Brewer was also involved. Why? Because I stirred the pot. I'm not going to lie. I stirred the pot on that one. I put a quote out there from one of our podcasts with Mark Brewer and his great appearance on here. And he had something to say about the amount of effort percentage-wise that Mike Law gives compared to Bo Crockett. And he believed the 110% Mike Law claims he gives is nowhere near compared to what Bo gives. Bo gives about $2,000 on a bad day and something like $1 to $2 million on a good day. So they took issue with that. Obviously, Mike Law stood up for himself, and I stirred the pot on that one. That's on me. that they went back and forth, and it was entertaining, but it's not going to be as entertaining as their match this Saturday night at the Hoboken Community Center for the television title, the Capital Wrestling television title. So you're not going to want to miss that this Saturday. It's going to be another big styles clash. I'm really not sure how Bo Crockett is going to handle the colossal Mike Law. I mean, that guy is huge. Some say he's even bigger than Paul Jourdain. So that's definitely a very titanic figure right there. We got to see how Bo, will he sink or swim versus the colossal Mike Law? Will he come away with that television title? We'll have to see. Elsewhere, we saw Benjamin Falbo of the General Admission Wrestling Podcast getting roasted by the New York Wrecking Crew. That's as simply put as it can be. He had an interview with them at one of their House of Glory events, and it was literally the roast of Benjamin Falbo. In a good way, though. I mean, it was entertaining. It was fun. He wore a shirt with the Super Savages on it. Chris Seaton took offense to that, and he said, hey, man, turn your shirt around. Turn around. I don't want to see that. Made the kid take his shirt off, flip it around. Did not want to see those two. A little bit of a history there between the Super Savages and the New York Wrecking Crew. So that was really fun to watch. Go check that out on the General Admission Wrestling Podcast on their Facebook, on their YouTube. In a situation where Smooth Blackman is the more restrained one, something must be, it's an intense situation. And something must have been bothering Chris because he was not in the mood that day, and it showed. It was 15 minutes of absolute greatness. As I said on Twitter, the New York Wrecking Crew is a national treasure. So there's also a cameo by the Matthew Ryan Shapiro, and he was none too pleased. And it ended shortly after that, but you're going to want to take a look at that. Lots of good stuff between those parties. The teaser for Greek Talk was put out by Andros the Greek, and I believe it was Jimmy Papadopoulos, whatever it is. The guy bears a striking resemblance to Andros the Greek. Got the glasses, but the hair's back, so that's the difference. Trying to interview people. Thought it was funny that Marcus Marquis says he doesn't know what alcohol is. This coming from the guy who loves Ouzo and his love of Hennessy. That's really funny to watch. You're going to want to check out Andros the Greek on Twitter, Perfect Strangers. Go check out @TearsIsBack. That's Marcus Marquis' Twitter. Lots of funny stuff there. And lastly, you're going to always want to check out the new episodes of It's Never Sunny in Matlanta. Go on YouTube. Go on his Twitter. @AllSellsFinal. Check out the newest episodes. And I believe he'll be filming this Saturday and this weekend with Capital Wrestling. You're going to want to check the future episodes out as well. Lots of great guests he's had in the past. I mean, Cody Rhodes has been on there. You've had Adam Cole on there. You had Larry Legend. Obviously Michael Kingston was on there the last time there, or at the Cathedral at least when they were filming there. So there's been plenty of great guests there. Sonny Kiss has been on it. So this time we're not totally sure who's going to be on there. It's going to leave that for a surprise. But Matt Sells with a great comedic timing. Lots of fun episodes. I mean, I used to have favorites, but I mean, literally every week the guy's outdoing himself. So we're going to see who's going to be on this episode or series of episodes next time. He might film a few, but you're always going to want to check those out and check out all the other people on Twitter and social media. Capital Wrestling is where it's at right now, and that's a lot of fun stuff going on. Plenty of good personalities. Also, another great follow on Capital Wrestling social media. Go on Twitter. Follow @the_Ken Dixon. He's always entertaining on there. Lots of great GIFs and everything. I mean, the guy just roasts everyone left and right. Fun to watch. Go check him out. And also catch him this Saturday when he tags with the Endgame Paul Jourdain versus Sex Crazed and Smiley. That's going to be one really fun matchup right there. Also, outside the ring, we're going to have plenty of great options in regards to food. Chef Daniel is going to be bringing us all the ultimate comfort food from Elite Delights. We're going to have Dropkick Buffalo sliders. We're going to have 5-knuckle barbecue pork sliders with slaw. We're going to have glorious nachos, body slamming beer mac and cheese, chicken and waffles cupcake, and also chocolate cupcakes. So if that's not a really eclectic menu enough for you, I'm not sure where your head's at, or your stomach for that matter. So you're really going to want to check out them this Saturday. I know I'm going to have probably one of everything, because that all sounds really delicious. You're not going to want to miss it. Once again, 301 Gardner Street this Saturday night at the Hoboken Community Center, live from Hoboken, New Jersey. Doors open at 7, bell time's at 8. We're going to see the first ever Capital Wrestling Champion crowned. You're not going to want to miss that. Get your tickets at capitalwrestling.com. Go to tinyurl.com/capitalwrestling4, the Roman numeral 4, letters I and V. For any inquiries, if you want to be a sponsor, if you're a talent looking to get on, not at this show, but maybe future shows, whatever it is, go to capitalwrestling@gmail.com. It's going to be one hell of a card. We're going to see a double main event. The champion of the 1%, Logan Easton LaRoe, will be taking on the Concrete Rose, Sonny Kiss. The Rogue, Anthony Gangone, will be taking on the Bad Apple, Matt McIntosh. The Capital Wrestling television title, as mentioned, will be on the line when Colossal Mike Law defends it versus the challenger representing the NRA, Bo Crockett. We'll see a Tag Team Mayhem match with Timmy Danger, Ryan Zane, and Stan Styles all teaming together, managed by Portia Vaughn and Neil Sharkey, take on Ronnie Burton, Joey Ace, and Nyla Rose. Matthew Ryan Shapiro will be managing the New York Wrecking Crew when they take on the Perfect Strangers. We're going to see more amazing action from Logan Black as he takes on Juba in their bitter rivalry. Jason Karloff will be taking on the debuting Mark Bravura, the Memphis Mofo. Ken Dix and Paul Jourdain will team to take on the team of Sex Crazed, Matt Sells, and Smiley. And as mentioned, and you're going to get to see our previous guest, SwipeRight Joe Keys, take on our next guest, the shooter, Killian McMurphy. And now you get to see him or hear him on the Capital Wrestling Podcast. It is our pleasure to have him. Thank you for joining the show. How's it going, Killian?
Doing pretty well. How are you, Sean?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for stopping by the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I mean, no better way to have it than have two opponents on the same podcast heading into October 14th.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I was afraid you were going to have us both on at the same time, and we would just argue the whole time.
Oh, I just let you guys argue, and then I just sit there, and then all of a sudden I'd time it, and at 30 minutes I'd go, done. But yeah, man, what you been up to lately?
Just training, about to hit the gym now, actually. Been in the ring here and there, when I can. Been wrestling all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
About to debut for PWE soon. But this weekend, making my Capital debut. That's exciting.
Well, your official debut, because I remember last time you were in a dark match, right?
Yeah, it was a pre-show 6-man.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that in just a few minutes. But first, we're going to start with your background in athletics, and you've told me that obviously did a lot of amateur wrestling in high school, and then at Mount St. Mary's there was no wrestling team, so then you actually became a mascot.
Yeah, there was always like little buzzing and little talks of like starting a club wrestling team, and there was a club BJJ team, but there was no actual like amateur wrestling team. But mascotting really blended entertain. It was the first time I've really blended entertainment with sport because it gets really hot and sweaty in that thing, and it's hard to breathe, believe it or not. And just feeling the energy of the crowd and having them behind me, it was amazing. And feeling that for the first time, and that's kind of where I fell in love with that feeling, was mascotting.
Now, were there any other schools at the time that were giving you offers for wrestling?
No, not really. I'd earned an academic scholarship to Mount St. Mary's, so I decided to take that. Pretty decent school. I wanted a small school, and so I kind of took that over anything athletic because I wanted one-on-one time with my professors, but, nerd stuff.
Well, I mean, what were you going for academically there?
Sports management, actually. So it actually all revolves back to sports. I originally wanted to coach football and got to coach a little bit of youth basketball, which was amazing in college. It was so much fun. The kids were awful, absolutely terrible, but it was a lot of fun to coach them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you mentioned also that you were the ranked number 14 on Sports Illustrated's mascot list of 2014.
Yeah, well, that's the first time that Mount St. Mary's had made the NCAA men's basketball tournament in like 4 or 5 years. And I was just scrolling through. It was actually SportsIllustrated.com, scrolling through their website one day, and I saw the list, and I kind of laughed, and I started going through it. And then I saw that big, ugly Mountaineer face pop up, and I was like, oh, my God. I can't believe it.
So you got to go to all the tournament games that they played in?
Yeah, we got to do away games, which was my first experience working heel, because people would boo you really loud, and that was even a cooler feeling. That was amazing.
Is there a way to carry that over to wrestling?
Oh, yeah, the crowd manipulation, and you're not allowed to talk as a mascot. Really, you can't. Nobody would hear what you would say anyway. Emoting with your body, you know what I mean, and playing to the very back of the crowd, that's a lot of mascot stuff. And conditioning, honestly, as ridiculous as it sounds, absolutely conditioning.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because you're doing a lot, running around, and you said you're sweating, so you can't just be some, schlub just in that outfit.
Yeah, and I used to do like pratfalls down the steps too, so it was my first experience bumping. And did you ever do anything that risked it or injured yourself? Oh no, I would always like be kind of near the bottom of the steps and just kind of like tilt back slow, but no, I never did anything crazy. One time I got really worked up. We went to, I think, triple overtime in our conference quarterfinals. And I everybody stormed the court because it was a home game. We barely won. I had to run out of the gym and just lift the suit up and just projectile vomited everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, I got to stop drinking before the night before games, not before games.
I got to stop drinking at halftime.
Yeah. I got to stop drinking during the game in my suit with an IV.
Yeah, that's going to dehydrate you real quick. Actually, getting back to, though, your mindset, though, in the academia part of it, now you were trying to, you said you were coaching kids, and what did you hope to accomplish with the sports management degree, if not for professional wrestling?
I was hoping to go to another school after that and get something in education and become a gym teacher and kind of work with kids that way. I did a lot of work with my YMCA with refereeing and stuff like that and working in their sports department.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to work in sport, and when wrestling came along, a lot of those kind of things take place on the weekends. So I kind of just had to cut that out to make room for wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that all goes back to your love of wrestling. And now, when did that first start for you? When you were a kid?
Yeah, I can't remember a time that I wasn't aware of wrestling. There's this little video of me as a tiny baby, and I can't be any older than 8 months. And I'm bouncing in a high chair, and you hear this weird music in the background, and the camera pans over, and the Undertaker is on TV slamming the Big Boss Man while he's on fire, and I got a smile on my face. I was like, wow, I have liked wrestling for that long. That's crazy.
Yeah, some people start really young right away, and I myself, I believe I was 12 or 13, mostly because the parents wouldn't let me watch it. So eventually, once I got to I'd watch it behind their back, then all of a sudden, eventually, it's just they don't mind it after a certain point.
Yeah, that happened to me too. I was really into it as a really small child because my brother was. But then once the Attitude Era came around, I kind of mysteriously stopped watching it, and it wasn't until I was older I figured out, oh, nobody was letting me watch it.
That's probably the worst time to watch it in terms of that adolescent age, back before all the PC stuff came into play and all the family oriented things.
Yeah, absolutely. But even after that, when I did start watching it again, they still had some really uncomfortable things that I probably shouldn't have been watching at the time.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Katie Vick.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yep. Read my mind.
I'm pretty sure that stands out in everyone's mind forever. I mean, we've had some bad segments in the last few years, just in terms of lameness, but in terms of just all-time tasteless, that has to take the cake. I'm not sure who cleared that.
Yeah, and they had to have known that so many kids were watching and just had no concept of any of that. And another one that comes to mind is when Lita was pregnant, and she had the miscarriage, and even just saying that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Was that the one where Snitsky kicked the baby?
Yeah, that was awesome though. Looking back,
that was absolutely awesome. And it's almost, I mean, I think the only thing that competed with that in terms of kicking a small child is when R-Truth kicked the little Jimmy, and the camera followed it out of the ring. What are you following? But
that was ridiculous.
But yeah, you mentioned that the back, and I think when you mentioned the Katie Vick thing too, it's kids are looking at that going, "Is that what ground beef in a casket? What is this?"
Oh, that's awful. That's absolutely awful.
But yeah, I mean, obviously there, you get your passion at a young age, and then eventually you make your way to training. Now, talk to me about the process of when you began to train.
It was December of 2015. And it's funny because when I first talked to the guy in charge of the company that I trained with at the time, was an MCW show that was running in Delaware, and Joe Keys was on that card, actually. So small world. I started training at 302 School, which recently reopened under Dirty Sunny Deeds, and then I ended up training under the person that trained him, Mark Harrow, who originally started at ECWA. And, of course, I train under John Trotsky up at the Sanctuary.
Yeah.
So little places here and there, I try to pick up, a little bit of this from this guy, a little bit of that from this guy, because everybody's better at teaching different things.
So, I mean, I guess you kind of fell into it that way. Back in the day, I remember a lot of guys saying it was hard to find training.
Oh, yeah, it's all over the place now. You can sneeze and you'll run into a guy who swears he knows how to train people.
Yeah, and then you just have to make sure there's that credibility there, and you're not trying to waste money on a fruitless venture.
Yeah, and it's you always got to pick the brain of the guy and see if it's worth it, and weigh your options and all that fun stuff.
I guess you can
know when it's time to move on. That's very important.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I mean, these days you can go on Yelp or whatever it is and check out reviews for places, and obviously word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth is definitely a big one. I never thought of looking at wrestling schools on Yelp. That's a good idea. I should have probably checked that out.
Not that I have, but I'm just assuming it's on there somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There needs to be like
we'll get it on there.
We'll make a wrestling Yelp. It's a new thing. I'll be 50-50 partner with you.
Yeah, we'll call it Welp.
Well, there it is. Now, what was the biggest obstacle or culture shock for you when you began wrestling?
I was used to amateur wrestling, and as you know, professional wrestling is a little different, and you kind of got to work with the guy a little bit more, so that was tough. And like I knew, I was aware that it was work, but it's still getting rid of that rigid, amateur wrestling mentality and become water, if that makes sense. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but kind of flowing, I guess, was the biggest issue for me.
Yeah, I'm sure that can be, because you're so used to being competitive, and then while you said you do know it's a work, it's like, okay, let me kind of transition to this a little bit, and I can see how that's difficult. When you first started out, what were some of your goals?
I just wanted, and it's still my goals to this day, get better and go as far as I can.
Now, do you learn to? Are you going to keep it vague, or are you going to start getting more specific, like maybe smaller goals day by day, stuff like that?
I want to wrestle for more places. You always want to make more money.
Oh, that helps,
cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
You want to wrestle better opponents, but honestly, I can't really put my finger on like, hey, I want to win this championship. Hey, I want to win this championship, because you can't create those opportunities for yourself.
Yeah.
So you just got to work hard and keep working every day and be in the gym and get better, and staying healthy, I think, should be the biggest goal for everybody, to be honest with you. Staying healthy.
What about dream matches? Like, obviously, there's plenty of guys in Capital to face, but outside of Capital, other guys in the Indies that you were like definitely dying to get in the ring with at some point?
Well, there's a lot of guys in Capital that I want to wrestle. Other guys, like other indie guys.
Just indie in general. I mean, it can include Capital, but just I guess to make it more broad and just I guess more loaded.
Kerman's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to have a match with him. I think Ken Dixon's great. Would love to have a match with him as far as Capital guys goes. I'd love to beat up Sonny Kiss. It's always been a goal of mine. Let's see, guys outside of Capital. Matt Riddle would be amazing. Would be so much fun. I love his style and what he does.
Would you be able to match his style in terms of that physicality?
Yeah, he hits hard. I'd have a lot of fun with that. I'd look forward to that a lot. That'd be awesome.
I still don't know how he does it barefoot. That's insane.
Oh, yeah, I'd break my ankle in about 30 seconds trying to do something like that.
Yeah, and I look at it from somebody who's had plantar fasciitis before, and I go,
Oh, yeah, and that doesn't go away either.
Yeah, you get the supports, whatever. It eventually gets better, but I mean, some people eventually need surgery, whatever it is.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know how people do that. I know a few people that do that, and it blows my mind.
Yeah,
it absolutely blows my mind.
I mean, obviously Kerman, does it without boots, and I'm just thinking also about something as little as breaking a little, or jamming a toe.
Yeah, that would suck. That would really suck. I don't think you'd notice that in the moment.
No.
But you have to walk around the rest of the week with that, and you're not going to have that adrenaline in your system.
Now, when you came in as a wrestler, I mean, you're running that hybrid of amateur and professional wrestling. You got some guys who bring in the MMA aspect. How would you describe your style? And is there anybody you model it after?
I would describe it leaning towards more amateur wrestling and more old school wrestling than the MMA style. I use some jiu-jitsu holds here and there, but it's not like I have a BJJ background. I have trained under guys with that, but I don't really have one myself. They were professional wrestling trainers with that background, so I take little things from MMA here and there. But I would say it leans much more to what you see in like freestyle or Greco-Roman than you would in a cage. As far as influences, Angle, of course. Benoit was my favorite wrestler growing up. The Steiner brothers, I think, are fantastic. Even late Scott Steiner, people always assume I'm talking about like old Scott Steiner when he was the more pure amateur wrestler. I love Big Papa Pump. I think he's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Who else were big influences? Newer guys, I like Gable and Jordan. I like how realistic the Revival are, and I love their Midnight Express type psychology. I think is fantastic.
And I think they haven't even really scratched the surface on Gable. We've seen what he can do in tag team and NXT, but I think in terms of kind of like Sami Zayn, I mean, they really haven't scratched the surface on what those guys can really do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And other guys, I think Benoit is really the biggest one. I can't stress that enough. How into Benoit I was as a child.
And that's back in the day. I remember he was the first one who really did the dives on a consistent basis, and it wasn't just for the sake of it. He just do it, and it was like, and his were impactful too.
Yeah, that probably was a bad idea in the long run, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That was scary. And he used to do the dive straight into the chair.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, that is brutal.
I think it's
really sad.
The one that stands out to me is he'd the dive, and I think he'd do it at Booker T. I think it was on SmackDown. He went right into that announce table.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So I can only imagine, not even just the head, but also the back. I mean, the vertebrae and everything, all the discs, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Other influences off the top of my head were the Andersons. I love watching the Andersons. Just that old school beat 'em up, pick a body part mentality. I'm so into that.
And that's kind of where the armbar and grill comes from, and then you can target the arm and then eventually sink it in.
Yeah, and work my way into the chicken wing and other stuff like that. And I can pick a leg too, but your guy's going to be limping around all over the place if you do that. Sometimes that's a pain to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you actually see it on a side note? Did you see that UFC fight last weekend with Demetrius Johnson, where he pretty much German suplex guy, and in the middle of it, he grabbed him for an armbar?
Yeah, I did. I saw that, and I may or may not have worked on it yesterday at training.
Wow, yeah, I
may or may not see it.
Just to see that in a competition like that, I was just like, how do you do that?
I know how to do it.
Now, if you can do it, man, all more power to you. I'll be super impressed.
I know exactly how to do it. And another reason why that looks so good is because they were up in the cage, like up against the cage, and Mighty Mouse could control exactly how he fell. Not saying he couldn't have done it like without the cage, but he could literally control exactly how he fell and how he sunk right into the air. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was a work of art. I must have watched it. I took up like 45 minutes at work just watching that on repeat.
Yeah, and I get, like you said, you kind of model after it, and it'll be interesting to see if you can incorporate that in this week's match.
Yeah, it will be.
Now we touched on the Capital roster earlier, but say when you, I guess, talk about the process in joining Capital and your interest in it.
I saw Capital and just their social media presence, which is really, really good, and their sponsorships and the way Matt and Marcus run things is awesome. And I did the Brutal Bob seminar, and then I got a 6-man tag from that on the pre-show of the last show, and then I eventually, worked my way up to the main roster.
And what was that experience like for you, learning under Bob for that seminar?
I think it's the second or third Bob seminar I've done, and they're always so helpful. You can ask him anything, and he'll have an answer. It could be a technical thing of how do you personally do this move, why do this move. It could be a psychology thing, but biggest of all, it could be a money thing, and he's great at that.
In terms of how to save money and how to stretch a dollar,
and how to make money.
Oh, obviously, yeah,
definitely.
So, like you said, there's multiple levels of questions you can ask him, whether it's wrestling and outside the ring, and obviously how to get that personality to really go through the camera. Yeah,
he's a wealth of knowledge. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I've talked to him before too, and I feel like every time he forgets more than most guys will ever learn.
Yeah. When he sneezes, he forgets more than we all have learned in our collective years.
Yeah, and I've actually even was looking at the PWI, and he actually made he was on the list this year.
Yeah, and I'm sure they even in there probably mentioned him doing the seminars, because those are such a thing. Those are so huge.
Yeah, he's such an influence on everyone. And now he does the was it the drive thing?
Yeah.
So
Ride.
I'm sorry, the Ride thing.
Ride.
Yeah, so he's definitely an influence on multiple levels, and just to be able to learn from him, and from what I saw, I was watching some of that seminar myself, and it was a hell of a turnout.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys there. I ended up working with some guy who I think trained at that school out in Iowa. Isn't that where Seth Rollins' school is?
Yeah, the Black and the Brave.
He was from there.
Black and the
really
Brave.
Nice guy. I can't remember his name, but he was awesome. Everybody in that seminar was awesome. A lot of talent.
Yeah, there was. I think it was the Black and the Brave. Because
that's it.
What's his Ronnie Burton? Obviously wrestles. So he graduated from that school, and plenty of talent coming out there. And I saw some of those guys, I think, in that dark match that you're part of, and just lots of fun to see the energy they bring in the matches.
Yeah, they were great. They were really talented. All 4 of those guys, 3 or 4 of those guys.
But what were your thoughts on Hoboken in general, and also like the venue, the crowd?
Crowd's awesome. Venue's awesome. The energy of the city's awesome. Parking sucks.
Oh God, yeah.
But other than that, I love Hoboken. Mm-hmm. Really cool place. Really cool venue. I would have loved to got into Capitol when they had the church venue. Yeah. But this venue's even cooler. You know what I mean? It's got the big curtain in the back, which is amazing. I haven't seen something like that in any wrestling. And most importantly, though, the crowd from Capitol's always hot. That even the dark match that I was in, usually you're in a dark match, and the crowd's like, I don't know these guys, but they had like chants going, and they were hot for it. So I love that crowd. Yeah, definitely a more intimate venue than the Cathedral. I mean, the Cathedral itself was intimate in its own ways, but this one, just in terms of size, was a lot smaller and compact. And then even the streets felt tinier, but plenty. I think it's kind of like one of those things with Capitol. It doesn't matter where you have it. If you bring that audience and that roster, you can put on magic. Yeah, especially with that roster. The roster up and down is so good. Mm-hmm. So obviously, you pick up the win. You're looking to carry that momentum into this singles match. I talked to Joe Keys earlier in the show, and he had plenty of interesting things to say heading into this match. First of all, he said this match should be in the main event, just because it comes with the quality. Absolutely. Now, he also said he talked about you, and he says he brings a background with him. He boasts about being a shooter. Everyone's a shooter until you get slapped in the mouth. What's a slap gonna do? Who gets hurt from a slap? My mom used to slap me when I was a kid. That doesn't hurt somebody. I know how to hurt people. He says you can do the slap and tickle wrestling game with the kids at the school you graduated at, but he says your offense is predictable, but he does say you're a better mat wrestler than him, but he just says he's going to avoid your mat wrestling, and that's probably smart. He's not going to be able to, but that's smart to think that. Mm-hmm. He's going to try to force his game on you, obviously. He has a game? Or game plan, sorry. He has a game plan? All I've ever seen him do is run away and put his hair up. He's a good wrestler. He's very, very entertaining. But I'm not an entertainer. Mm-hmm. So I know we're going to have the match in front of a former world champion. That's going to be great. And I know everybody's looking for me to put on a 5-star match, but that's not what I'm all about. I am there to beat Joe Keys. Are you reserving a spot for him at the Arm Bar and Grill? Absolutely. Table for one, bud. Taps on deck. I love it, man. I love it. Now, yes, we're serving cross-faced chicken wings all night. Both of you guys are very confident in this matchup. That's honestly why I've been looking forward to it, because 2 young studs in the business. I mean, you're 23, so talk about how that youth and some people might say inexperience. How do you make up for that? Confidence. Mm-hmm. I have more experience than a lot of guys. That's the thing. A lot of guys will wrestle once or twice a month when I'm out, 2 to 3 places a weekend. Mm-hmm. So experience, youth can make you stupid, but youth can make you confident, and with a lot of confidence, you can do amazing things. So sometimes ignorance is bliss. Yeah, absolutely. And are there any places, I mean, obviously that you wrestled before, what's your favorite place that you wrestled? I like stunt fighting at the Sanctuary. That's great. Legacy wrestling is absolutely amazing. I had a match with Deshaun Pratt from the Osiris Portal back in the day before he took the mask off. That was amazing. But I know after this weekend it's going to be Capitol. There you go. Yeah. You've told me you're going to knock the mustache off his face. Yeah, or break his arm, or leg, or ribs, something.
So
I'm coming home with something.
You're looking to take a trophy home, hey?
Yeah, hang it on my wall next to all the other ones.
Are there any other matches on the card that catch your eye outside of yours, obviously?
The Sunny Kiss match.
Mm-hmm.
Both the main events are amazing.
Yeah, those are going to be off the charts.
Yeah. It's always fun to watch Ken Dixon wrestle,
mm-hmm.
as I mentioned earlier. So looking forward to that. Paul Jourdain's a monster.
He's almost as tall as Mike Law.
He almost as tall as Mike Law. Not quite as big as Mike Law either.
No, Mike Law looking to give him the rub.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
Mike Law's fantastic. I could watch Mike Law wrestle all day.
Uh-huh.
God, he's so good.
He's had a hell of a year so far.
He really has. Who did he face last show?
He faced Matt McIntosh.
That's right, the Bad Apple. That match was really good.
I think good.
I snuck into the crowd for that one, and that was a really good one.
Yeah, he put together both of them put together like a 15-20 minute classic.
Yeah, really though. Really though.
And
absolutely.
Especially on a card where you had Gangone and MJF. I mean, that they had to raise the bar.
Oh yeah, because those guys always bring it.
Yeah,
those guys always bring it.
Yeah, and that was a phenomenal main event. So now to see McIntosh go with Gangone, and then you got Mike Law versus Bo Crockett. I mean, those are two. I just like seeing these different styles mesh.
Yeah, I feel like you could bring up any match on that whole card to me, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's going to be an amazing match because blah 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 blah. So up and down, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. If
you're not there, folks, you're missing out. You really are.
Exactly, you're missing out. And also, the most important thing to be missing out on is the fact that there's going to be the crowning of the first ever Capital Wrestling champion. What are your thoughts on that, and who would you name as the first ever Capital Wrestling champion?
Sunny Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
100%. The fans love him so much, more than anybody else on the roster. They are in love with Sunny Kiss, and I think no matter what match he's in, if you're in Hoboken, he's in the main event, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But you could put the title on any of those four guys in the main event, and it'll be a smart decision.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the double main events, rather.
Yeah, and there's no actual, they haven't said how they're going to crown the champion, and we're not sure if it's going to be a match itself or if they're just going to name it. We're not totally sure yet, but it's leaving fans on the edge of their seats.
I hope they don't just name one. That's a Triple H nonsense. I don't want that to happen.
We will have to wait and see, but folks, if you want to catch that, you're going to have to go get your tickets now. You can get them at the door. Before we get out of here, Killian, do you have any plugs in terms of shows outside of Capital, merchandise, social media?
The month of November 11th, 302 Pro Wrestling. We are in Newcastle, Delaware, the Nurse Shrine Center. Sanctuary every Friday. Tune in on YouTube if you can't make it there. Of course, Capital this weekend, and I'm sure you've plugged this already, but go to the SavageStash.com, get yourself a fanny pack. It comes with a free trading card. This really cool Hulk Hogan, and he's Irish whipping Ric Flair in a suit, and I always look at it and smile. So go to SavageStash.com.
That's actually the one sponsor plug I left out the entire time, so thank you very much for bringing that one up.
Yeah, thank God you had it.
Dude, you just saved the show. I was going to have to scrap the whole thing unless we did that.
Yes. They didn't even scrap the previous episode.
Just scrap it all. We'll just start over. But Killian, I really want to thank you for stopping by. It means a lot that you came on the show, and it's going to be exciting to see what you and Joe Keys... Actually, one bonus question real quick. If you beat Joe Keys, where does that put you in the picture of Capital Wrestling?
I hope I beat Ken Dixon next. Isn't that how it works always with him?
Oh. There you go. I mean, like you said, you want that match eventually, so that would also be very fun to watch. I'm sure the combination of those styles would be excellent.
Yeah, I agree.
But once again, man, I really want to thank you for coming on the show and blessing us with your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Blessing you guys with my wisdom. That's funny.
So as we get out of here, guys, you can catch us here every Wednesday at 12 o'clock via IRW Network and SoundCloud.com/El Podcast. Check us out on iTunes or search Capital Wrestling. We're also live at 6:05 every Monday night on the GFQLive.tv Guys from Queens Network. Also, replays on IRW, Pivot Share, and Twitch. Follow us on Twitter at Capital Wrestling. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Neutron. We want to give shout out to the General Admission Wrestling Podcast, A Shot of Wrestling Podcast, the Spotlight Series, and the Squared Circle Sound Off. If you want to buy tickets right now, go to tinyurl.com/capital4. That's the Roman numeral 4. Also go to capitalwrestling.com. We have an excellent deal at Groupon. Get a 2 for $20, 2 tickets for $20. Also, you can get a beanie with a ticket for $35. Just email capitalwrestling@gmail.com. Any sponsors or talent who are looking for work for us, go to capitalwrestling@gmail.com. Any merchandise you'd like to purchase, whatamaneuver.net, go to prowrestlingtees.com. And if you're looking to get some really good food this Saturday night, check out Elite Delights. They're going to be there at the Hopes Community Center this Saturday night. You're not going to miss that. So, once again, it's been a great...
I saw that menu. That's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think that, obviously they're going to have the nachos. They're going to have all sorts of things, man.
Absolutely.
So, fans, you're going to have lots to look forward to. And now we're going to have the show this weekend. But following the show, I believe Bo Crockett and Joey Ace will be on the show next week. So look forward to that. Look forward to this Saturday night. There's going to be plenty of Fallout to discuss next week. I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to thank both of my guests for coming on. We will see you guys here next week at 12 o'clock at irwnetwork.com and soundcloud.com/ElTorsPodcast.